Hello, everyone. So, today I'm going to be talking about independent learning and curriculum choices. And this is for grades 3 to about 6th grade because then, after the child is in, I would say, middle school and high school, you're going to have to offer a little bit more. And so, let's jump right into it. What do I mean by independent learning? And so, in our homeschool, we expect our students to struggle, to work hard, and to work independently. Working independently is crucial for the development of problem solving skills. Through problem solving and through figuring things out is how learning truly happens. It's not by holding your child's hand, by lecturing. It is by having the child have an experience with learning. When you teach a child how to learn, they can learn anything. And so self-learning is not lecture style. So it's not, you're not going to be in front of a child reading informational text. It is allowing the child a space so that they can work out problems, so that they can find solutions for things. And that's when learning truly, truly happens for a child. And let me just give you guys an example. So my kids love catching little bugs and insects and things in little jars. Last week, we went to the forest for hiking, and they found a little frog. And they caught it with a little net. They didn't touch it. They just caught it with a little net and put it in the jar and covered it up. The jar and the cover up, the top of the jar has like little holes, so it allows breathing for the little frog. And so they started asking me all types of questions. What type of frog is this? Can we touch it? What can we feed it? So they usually keep whatever it is that they catch for like a day or two, and then they let it go. So they started asking me all types of questions about frogs. I didn't know really what type of frog this was. I really don't know much about frogs. And so I said to my 8-year-old, why don't you Google that information up? Google it up. Find out what type of frog this is. So they started Googling it, and she figured out that this was a toad. She figured that out by looking at the different pictures, by looking at the different descriptions of the frogs. She realized that this frog had little bumps on the back and had little poison glands in back of the eyes. So it was a toad. She looked at the different body structures of different frogs and determined this is a toad. And I think it was an American toad. I forgot what it was called. An American toad. I forgot what it was called, but it was a type of toad. They figured out what type of toad it was. And then they figured out what type of food this toad needs to eat, what type of environment it needs to be in, and all types of information. Now, if I would have taken another approach to teaching my kids about frogs, and I would have gotten a book about frogs and just started giving them facts about frogs and information about frogs, I don't think that it would have stuck with them as much as this experience that they had with this frog that they kept for 2 days. And they tried to feed it, and they learned all about it, and they will never forget what type of frog this is. They will never forget how to identify when it's a frog and when it's a toad. So there is an active, they became active participants in learning instead of being passive learners through a lecture. And so that is an example of independent learning. And the way that I learned about this method was when I worked for a charter school. And this charter school focused on discovery learning. And when I first started working for the school, I thought it was kind of odd. All of the students were in different cubicles. And there was like maybe 100 students in the school. They all had their cubicles, and so they couldn't really see past their cubicle. They was just focused on their work. When they would go in the morning, they would get their workbooks that they had to do, and they would work through the workbooks on their own. They only attended like lectures and classrooms together, a classroom together with the other students and the teacher about 2 times a week. And I thought this was, at first, when I first saw it, I really thought it was cruel. And I thought, wow, these poor kids, they have to figure it out on their own, and they have to learn everything on their own through these workbooks. So the way that it would work is that they would do their work, And then they had a particular person that came every week to grade all the work. So that was that person's mainly job, just to grade the workbooks. And it would give that back to the child, and the child would have to figure out, okay, I got this wrong, and I have to figure it out. And then when that person came back the next week, they would grade them again. So each week they would get graded, and then they would, mark it right or wrong, and then the child would correct their errors. And it was amazing because I saw these students, how smart they were, how much they were learning, and they were doing it on their own. Now, this was a school that it was for third grade and up. This is where I learned all about self-learning, discovery learning. And it was really an amazing experience for me to work in this school, to learn discovery learning, to learn the importance of it. And so that is how I started implementing this when my kids got a little older and they could work on their own. Now, for independent learning, I say that third grade and up is a good, I would say, indicator. And that was how the school was as well. It was for third grade and up. Because for second grade and below, you have to sit down with the child. You have to hold their hand. You have to teach them the basics of reading and writing. And if they don't know how to read, they're not going to be able to do anything. So they have to be good readers by the time they get to third grade. And if they're not good readers, they're not going to be able to do independent learning on their own. Independent learning is huge and is very important because it is basically something that they're going to have to use for the rest of their lives. When you go to a job and you get training, your boss doesn't want to hold your hand after they give you that training, after you learn whatever you need to learn. They want you to just jump in and do what you have to do because time is money, and because they want people to be self-driven and to be able to do things independently, to be able to do things on their own, to be able to handle projects on their own. So this ability of self-learning, discovery learning, independent learning is a amazing skill that is going to go with your child for the rest of their lives. There's parents that tell me that they don't have time to work each individual curriculum with each child. Well, this is a solution for that. And even if I only had one child, I would choose discovery learning. I would choose independent learning. After my kids are third grade, I loosen up my reins, and they are in charge of the majority of their work. And so today, I want to show you the books that I'm using for independent learning, the curriculum choices that I'm using. Now, I have used so many different curriculums and so many different things. I do not choose curriculums that are teacher intensive. I do not, because I do not want to be the main teacher. I want my child to teach themselves. I like self-teaching curriculum. And any curriculum can really be turned into that for the most part. But I have experimented with different curriculums and with different workbooks. And I'm going to share with you what I'm using this year for my third and fifth grader. So for our core curriculum is reading, writing, and math. And for reading, I include in there language arts, the whole thing, the whole package for reading. For math, so let's go over the curriculum. Let me bring over the books over here so I can share with you guys what I have. So let's go over the different curriculums that I have. Now, before I share with you what curriculum I'm going to be using, I just want you to know that you don't have to use what I'm using. I'm just going to give you what I have found useful and what I'm using this year. Now, there's so many workbooks out there. There's so many curriculums. I have used a lot of different curriculums. I have taken an inside view of a lot of them, and I have used a lot of them throughout the years. And this is what I'm using right now. Now, you can use other workbooks for your independent learning studies, and whatever you have in your local area, whatever you have available, work with what you have, because you can make any curriculum independent, right? So let's go over first our reading. So for reading, everything that I'm going to show in the video, I'm going to link below in the description box a list of things so that you can easy access for it. I know it's hard to remember all this. So let's start with grammar, right? So for grammar, we're using this Daily Grams workbook. And basically, they only have to do 1 page a day from this workbook. Very easy, very simple. 1 page a day. And what is this workbook going to teach them? Capitalization, punctuation, parts of speech, sentence combining, a lot of different things, all grammar. Now, children learn grammar through literature, through reading good literature, through writing. But this is a workbook that I'm going to have her use this year for grammar. I like using simple things that are not very teacher intensive. So now let's talk about vocabulary. Again, vocabulary is something that is learned through reading good literature and reading good books. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to provide some type of workbook for her to do on her own independently. So I'm using this year the 240 vocabulary words kids need to know. And this is a really simple book as well. Basically, it only has 24 lessons. And she does this book 3 times a week. And it doesn't take her all year to do this. She'll be done with this in no time. Basically, she gets 10 words that she works with, right? Every time that she does the workbook, which is 3 times a week, she only does 1 page. She works with those 10 words. And as she learned those 10 words, she's putting those words into context, doing different little activities with the words. I think it's wonderful. Along with that, for vocabulary, I'm using this Red Hot Root Words, Mastering Vocabulary, with prefixes, suffixes, and root words. I think it's important to teach children root words because when they have a foundation in root words, they're able to figure out the definition and the meaning of any word, really. Especially the common English words that they encounter. So this book is going to be done twice a week. They get to learn different roots and the different meanings of these root words. And then they have to figure out from learning these root words, what are the definition of other words. So it's a really great book. Let me just show you guys what it looks like inside. So that is for vocabulary. Now let's talk about spelling. Again, spelling is something that they're going to be learning it through reading good literature. But I have these workbooks to solidify the reading and the writing. So for spelling, I have used this spelling workout book for a few years now, and I love it. Let me show you what it looks like inside. So basically, the child, well, for 5th grade, for 2nd grade it's a little different. Sorry guys, it's kind of hard to show it here on my computer, but basically they get 20 words. And then what I do is I have the kids write out their 20 words. I'm sorry, here we go. Let me see if this looks better. So I have the child write the 20 words down in their notebook the first day. They write it down in their spelling notebook. 1 time is good enough. I don't have to have them write it down 5 times each like a lot of people do. 1 time, write the 20 words down. So that's Monday. Write down their words 1 time. Then they work on the first section over here. Then for Tuesday, they write down the words again and work on the second section over here. Wednesday, they write down the words again and work on this little section right here. Very simple, very easy, right? Then another day, the child writes down their words and works on this section. The last day, they write down their words and they do the last section. So with the words, they are also having to write sentences for the week. At the end of the week, in their spelling notebook, they get a spelling quiz from me. So for the spelling sentences, what I do is I break it up. So every day they're writing like 5 sentences. And then at the end of the week, they'll have, for the 20 words, they'll have all the other sentences. So it's very simple, very easy. At the end of the week, they have their quiz. And every day they're just doing a little section each day, along with their sentences and along with writing their words 1 time each. I know it sounds complicated, but it's really not. That's just the way that I do spelling, and it's worked really well, and the kids learn really well, really well. So that is for are language arts. Now, this is for our reading program. So for reading, I have the kids read 20 minutes a day at least. And I have a list that I'm going to provide in the description below. I have different lists that I work from. I'm going to link below the different lists that I use. I love the Good and the Beautiful library, their books. Let me show you some of the ones that I got this year for our home library here. And again, you can just get books from the library, but if you're trying to build a little library for your home, if you have many kids that you're going to be passing this down to, then it makes sense to buy a few books every year, right? So these are some of the ones that I got for my 5th grader this year. The Courage of Sarah Noble, Susie and Lizzie, the box set. The Adventures of Geraldine Wilkins, The Boy of the Pyramids, Melissa Across the Fence, Seesaw Girl, Ramona Quimby, age 8, Silly Jokes for Kids, because my kids love jokes. They really do. And another one that I got for her is Jean Marie and Her Golden Bird. So those are some of the ones that we got. Now, we will be going to the library for more books. Of course, when she's done reading these, we'll be going to the library for more books. Now, require 20 minutes. She usually goes over that time because she really gets into the books. I also get nonfiction books so that she can learn whatever she's interested in. So right now, she's raising a little rabbit. She's part of a 4-H club where it's all about rabbits and furry animals, and they bring the little rabbits to the club. It's really fun. And so I got her this, The Bunny's Lover's Guide to House Rabbits, and all about rabbits. So she's always reading this book because she always wants to figure out problems with the rabbit and, what's going on now and what does this mean? And so she always uses that book. I also have another one called The Pet Rabbit Handbook. And so she uses those a lot for reading. She's always reading those. And right now she's into fairy houses, building fairy houses outside with nature items. And so this is going to give her like pictures of ideas of how to build these fairy houses. Just like little houses that they build outside out of bark and leaves and rocks. They're into that right now. So I basically wanted to show you those things because my kids, every child has a different interest. True learning happens when you pursue those interests. So it's really important that when you see that your child has an interest, that you support those interests by providing books and tools so that they can grow and they can learn. Whenever there's an interest, there's a huge learning opportunity. It's a window for that child to learn. So it's really important that when you follow the child's interest and you get books so that they could read about their interests and that they could learn more about whatever it is that they're interested in. So right now they're into frogs. I'm actually going to be going to my library, which now has finally curbside pickup for books because of the whole COVID situation. So I'm going to be getting books on frogs and dragonflies because that's what they're into right now, catching in my backyard and catching out in these little jars. And they want to learn all about that right now. So they're really interested in that. There's a learning opportunity there. So I'm going to get books on that. Now you can show them documentaries. It doesn't end there. You can show them, you can take them to a museum. You can take them to the zoo to learn more. So there's just many things that you can do. Learning really becomes alive when you teach this way. So that is our reading program, which encompasses language arts. Got the whole thing there. And now let me share with you guys what I'm doing for math. So for math, I'm not going to show you a book really because for 3rd grade and up, I use a program called Teaching Textbooks. And this is done online. And this is an independent curriculum. And everything happens there. The lectures happen there. Children learn through there. Everything is done there. So I have a notebook like this, which has the little squares, so that they can work out their problems. So what I do is I have the children, 3rd grade and up, write down the problems and work them out in this notebook. Really important, right? And then, so they number and they write down their answer, and then they put the answer into the computer. So this way they can work out their problem in a notebook. And then if they get it wrong, then I go ahead and I, go back Now, when it comes to independent learning and they get a lot wrong, I look at the teaching textbooks, gives you the ability to see, okay, these are the problems that the child got wrong. You can see the areas that children need help with. So when a child is having difficulty with something, they've already learned that. When they come to me for a question, I'm going to direct them back to the teaching textbook program. And I'm going to have them rewatch the lecture. I'm going to ask them questions to lead them to the answer. I'm not going to sit here and lecture. I'm not going to sit here and tell them the answer or tell them what to do. When you tell a child what to do, they're not really learning. They have to learn that on their own. That's when learning really happens. Because when they learn that on their own, the steps are like ingrained in their brain. And so it's really important that you ask questions, you lead them back to the lecture, and through these questions, they figure it out on their own. It's really amazing. So that's how we do math. We do teaching textbooks. It's a great program. I don't just rely on teaching textbooks. I see that a child needs a little help with something, whether it's division, or maybe I want to add a little unit about money, or whatever it is. I go ahead and if I see that the child needs that, like for example, if I go to the store and I see that the child still really hasn't learned how to count money appropriately, they don't know how to know how much change they should get back, then I'll focus on that. And I'll focus on that because these are life skills. So you have to see in regular life what's lacking here. Yes, the curriculum is providing this, but what's lacking here? You should be able to know how much money you're getting back. You should be able to know these things are things that you use in daily life. And so maybe we're figuring out the measurements for a carpet installation, and maybe my child hasn't figured out how to do that yet, and we'll go into that. We'll just do that and we'll learn together. And this is all like a life learning experience for all of us as a family. So that's for math. Then let's go over writing now. So for writing, the child keeps a notebook. So for third grade and up, I have the child write a page a day. And let me just show you guys. So it keeps it in a notebook. And so it looks like this, like a big notebook like this. And the child writes a page a day. This page a day could be a story of their own. Could be a question that I'm asking them. It could be copy work. I could have them copy from beautiful literature, from the Bible, from Proverbs, different books that are beautiful that I want them to learn from. I can have them do dictation work where I dictate something and they write it down. I can have them do narration. So for writing, have them write a page a day. And it could be a book report. It could be their report on a book. It could be an essay. I can go more in depth about writing and how to teach children how to write essays, how to write book reports, and all that stuff. But basically, that is what I focus on. They write a page a day. And this year, I got this book from Karen Andriola to help us with story writing, helping children write like they've never written before. So it's basically like these stories. And they have these illustrations, right? So it tells them a story, the beginning of a story. And then the child finishes that. And there's many ways that you can do this. And the book explains it. There's 4 different ways that you can use the book. And I think it's marvelous. It's not needed, but I got it this year for my oldest, for my 5th grader. And I think it's going to be a good supplement for her writing. I really don't find I've used writing curriculums before, and I don't find them useful for these early years. I really don't. I think kids need to just get into writing, write pages write 1 page a day, write every day, write. Even keeping a journal would be a good thing for them. Once they get into writing, when they get to the middle school years and high school, then you want to focus on more structured writing, and I think that this is all that is needed for these grades. And I can share with you what I do for the littles, because for the littles is something totally different for 3rd grade and below. But I'll talk about that at the end of the video a little bit, how I'm going to share that with you guys. So there you go. There you have it. You have my reading, my writing, and my math. And that is what I focus on. That is the core of our work. And that is what we do first thing in the morning. That's what the kids are working on. They're doing it on their own. They're doing it independently for third grade and up. For the little kids, I am working one-on-one because these are the early years. I have to set the foundation for reading, the foundation for writing. If the child cannot read, if the child cannot write, they will not be able to do any curriculum. But once the child knows how to read and write very well, they can do any curriculum. Now for the electives, I have a video on the electives and I'll link that below in the description box. And basically I do it through a series of read alouds and hands-on things and a little shelf that I have set up for them. And I'll link that below in the description box. And I really go towards the children's interest. I really do think it's important. But besides that, let me show you guys. I love these books. These books are 180 days of a particular subject. So let me share with you guys. I think it's great to have these to do like a couple times a week. You could do them every day if you wanted to because they're actually very easy. Let me show you guys what they look like inside just in case you were interested. So let's go over the science one first. So the science one, I'm already doing science through nature studies and unit studies. But this is just something that they can work on their own. And this is going to strengthen their reading comprehension. So this book goes over life science, physical science, earth and space science. And the way that they do it is, let me show you guys. It's so easy, so simple. Like they just do 1 page a day. Like let me show you one here. So they look at the graphic and they answer questions. They might have to read a story. Look, this one's about mammals. For example, they read a little bit about mammals and they answer these questions. So just 1 page a day. Simple. They're learning about science. This is just a supplement to your reading. But I think it's wonderful. They can do it on their own. Here's social studies. It's going over civics, economics, geography, and history. And I think it's wonderful. I really do. Again, it's just 1 page that they do. And it's very simple and they're learning quite a lot. And then I go in because it has the little guide in the back where it gives you the answers. And I go in and I grade it every day. And then by the end of the day, I want them to correct their work. So that is the curriculum that we are using basically. For the electives, I'm going to link below the video how we do science, how we do handicrafts, how we do history, how we do all that in the afternoon. And we rotate them every day for about an hour. And it's really fun. It's probably the most fun thing that we do for homeschool. I'll link that below in the description box. I'll link also all these books below in the description box. Also, I want to tell you guys that for kindergarten through second grade, I focus on the core and it's very simple what I do. And I'm going to be making a video on that and what to do for the early years in an upcoming video. Maybe I could do that for the next video for you guys so that you can learn what to do with the early years for kindergarten, first and second grade. And I could lay it out for you guys. I'm going to be linking all the resources below. If you haven't already subscribed to my email list, please do. Because every time I make a video, it goes directly to your inbox and you never miss a video. I don't make videos every single week. This is a ministry of mine. I love teaching parents and teachers about education and learning and all that stuff. And I do that in my free time whenever I get a free chance with my 5 kids. But I really would like to share more with you and I don't want you to miss it. So please subscribe to my email list. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the notification box so that you get a notification every time I put a new video up. If you have any comments on this video, please leave it in my community tab because I don't have comments here on YouTube. And I am looking forward to hearing from you. And until the next video, bye-bye.